Hello and welcome back to her Gypsy Soul podcast, The Stories That Bind Us. My name is Jacqueline von Bierk. I am your host. I am a singer, songwriter, I'm an artist, I'm a music composer and producer, and a lover of life. I love talking to people, having conversations. We all have so many stories that I believe it's our duty to share with one another because we are so much more alike than we are different. And I keep saying that over and over again because it is true. And I believe that in this day and age we live in, it is more and more important to find like-minded individuals and to build a community around people who have similar goals and dreams and ambitions to lift one another up and inspire, motivate, and empower one another. So it's always my goal for you to hopefully connect with one of my guests and maybe collaborate with them, work with them, and become friends, because this is what this is all about, to bring people together. I'm really happy to have today's guest. Her name is Brittany Adams. I met her a long time ago in Los Angeles through music, through my band, and I've seen her transform so much from where she was 10 years ago, probably more like 15 years ago, and where she is now, sharing her story about mental health issues, struggles she had, and also being in a codependent relationship, which I know a lot of people struggle with that. And I think it's important for her to share her story. Maybe I know someone needs to hear this and can relate to that, and hopefully it will help you find a solution for it. So with no further ado, here's my guest, Brittany Adams.
Hey, Brittany.
Hey.
How are you, girl? It's been a minute since you and I actually have spoken. I followed you on social media, on and off, how we all are. We met a while ago.
I remember the exact date that we met, actually. I was telling someone this earlier. 6/6 of 06.
06?
Yeah, it was 666 because Mark was on the way to the airport and we stopped by at your place in Van Nuys to meet you, and it was 6606.
Oh my God. So we know each other way longer.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So crazy.
Yeah. And it was because you had you had the studio in the garage. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like a party pad where we did a lot of music, and we also had a lot of space where we did like some pretty epic parties at the time.
Yeah. I think there's some videos on my old YouTube account floating around from like Roman's birthday or something. Yeah.
Chairs, remember the little chairs?
Yeah. The wigs, and then you brought your box of wigs out.
Hey, when we do it, we go out all the way.
Yeah. Oh man, those are some fun times. Oh,
I know, and it's been so long, and actually we haven't really. I think we saw each other a couple times at shows,
yeah, and at Bar Sinister. Bar Sinister was the last time I think I ran into you. Was Bar Sinister? That was years ago.
I know. I think you were still blonde then at the time.
Yep, I was a blondie.
And I was probably a redhead or whatever I was.
I think you're a redhead, yeah.
Yeah. So, Oh my God, you've gone through so much since we last spoke.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is so inspiring, and it's very, people need to hear this because other people that are struggling with mental health, being in unhealthy relationships, you overcome it all, and just share what you want us to know about.
Yeah, like
where you are now.
Basically, as you know, I've gone through a lot. Like, I mean, I've had I'm 35 and I've had 7 surgeries already, all on my lady parts. Like, can't have kids, was sick, went through almost 2 cancer scares, have just a history of abuse when I was younger, and just, it's been a crazy life. You think I've been living, crazy and wild and free, and been a spoiled brat, and just been, I guess you could say, giving people the benefit of the doubt, which is okay. I don't want to say it's not okay, but you have to take some responsibility for yourself, and you need to take responsibility for your own mental health issues that are behavioral. know that you can change. It takes work. It's not easy. But the most important thing though is that being a survivor. Don't be a victim. Like, be a survivor. And that was the biggest thing, is like I felt like I was going through all these things in my life and going like, oh, you know, like, oh, help me, someone rescue me. And I was being the victim. I was playing the victim, you know. I wasn't learning from my lessons. Nothing was my fault. I mean, like, it was my fault, but like, bad things that happen to you are not your fault, you know.
Yeah.
But how you react to them is your fault. And I was in a really abusive relationship. And he was everything. I mean, you even saw on social media the posts. He brought me flowers. He, you know, proposed to me in the cute way. He did this, and like, he would write things on my Facebook wall, and we'd go out and people would be like, oh my God, he's the greatest thing. I can't believe it's been so long. I finally met him. Like, he's the best thing ever. You're so blessed. My family loved him, everything. But those are the scariest, because as soon as that door shuts, they are a different person. Yes. And people, what's even scarier is people start, your close friends that start seeing through them, they have this weird way of like cutting you off from them. My best girlfriend in the world, me and her were talking about this the other day. She had moved when I met him, and we were always talking. We'd talk, you know, Skype, whatever. And we were talking about this the other day. I just went on a date with a guy like a couple months ago. She's already FaceTimed on the phone with him. She never FaceTimed on the phone with my ex-fiance. Anytime I would try to get him on the phone, he would have something. He would, you know, have some excuse. And I look back at that, and it's those little things that you don't think about, that maybe put a little spark in your head, a little voice in the back of your head. You have these rose-colored glasses on, so you just ignored it because you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Sorry, I'm like getting all scattered. I don't even know where to start with my own story sometime. So
when did you figure out like that? So at first you were really in love and everything was great,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
Certain things started to happen where you realized, wait a second, this is not healthy.
Well, okay, so basically what happened was, long story short, is I met him when he was 18. I was like 25, and I thought, oh, he's cute, but you know, young kid. Worked together. Years later, ran into each other, that whole thing, like, oh, I had a crush on you then, blah, blah, blah. He was an alcoholic, and he was a severe, is a severe alcoholic, drank a bottle of Canadian whiskey a day. My codependency issues were so much, and I felt like I wanted to help him so much that I was like, I'm going to help him. So I took him in, my family too, because have a codependent family. So this, you learn from your parents, you know, the generation. Mm-hmm. And I helped him, you know, and he ended up going to rehab. He ended up staying with us. I rescued this cute little boy that needed my help, and in turn he helps me. Bullshit. Doesn't work that way. He got sober, and he was the best thing ever. He got sober. I helped him get sober. He credited me. He was like, oh, I can stay sober. He was the most amazing person sober. He had his little tics. Like, I look back, and he was always very clingy. He was always very controlling, very passive aggressive. But he was sweet. But then it was like, you look back and you don't know when it changes. It slowly starts changing. You start realizing you talk to your friends less. And then it's like they seclude you, and you don't even know that they're secluding you. And people say like, well, why don't they just run away? Why doesn't the abuse victim just run away? Because it's not like this person just came in and was like, I'm going to control you. It was a manipulative plan from the beginning. They knew what they were doing. Mm. He is a sociopath. He admitted that to me twice. And you look back and the when it started questioning it, and if I ever meet this actor, I will thank him and tell him this story. And if anyone wants to know kind of the perfect example of what a sociopath is, not Dexter. That's not a good example. There's a Netflix show called You. And I started watching that with my ex-fiance, and he started making comments, and I kid you not, it is like watching my ex-fiance on screen. Is a show called You. It's like they're so perfect. They're almost too good to be true. And if they're too good to be true, they usually are. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, ask away, because there's my ADD brain is like going in so many places with what to say. I mean, from alcoholism, he was also, I mean, he's a sociopath. Like, at the same time, and then you find yourself starts questioning, like, this person told me they're sociopath, but the doctor says that they might be this, and it's like, are they telling me they're a sociopath not to face their own trauma? Right. Or not to deal? But when you have other people that have lived with them talking to you about certain things and experiencing that, and I mean, I was his second fiance. I'm not his first fiance. And it's like on timeline of like, it's just, oh.
What was the straw like that when you figured out, like, okay, this is unhealthy because what did you have to sacrifice? What did you notice is like really not healthy for you,
When I started getting scared to come home, like not knowing what I was coming home to, what mood he was going to be in. Also, believe it or not, that friend that he never talked to on the phone, a friend of ours passed away, and I ran into her. I didn't run into her. We met up at a funeral. At the funeral, we all were talking, catching up with all these old friends, and I was around all these friends he had like basically cut me off from psychologically, and they were like, so what's going on? He looked so great, what's going on? And they just, them knowing me, knowing the real me, they could see past the facade, and they were just like, Brittany, this isn't healthy. And then I went home, and it was like, wow, like I had this room full of people that loved me, that so it's scary. They're good. And I think the hardest part is PTSD. I mean, and I never ignored that voice, because I kept ignoring that voice, and he kept pushing me to get married. And I kept saying, no. And I finally was like, no, I can't ignore this voice anymore. And I sat him down, and this was me breaking. Okay, so your ex-fiance is breaking up with you. This is his reaction. Oh no, whoa, oh my God. 15 minutes of that. Then, like a light switch, went on his phone, like, yeah, we'll be fine, we'll be good. Then was openly drinking, because he had started drinking. I don't even know when he had started drinking. Started drinking, and then he started openly drinking in front of me. And it was like, he didn't have any use for me anymore. I wasn't going to be his meal ticket. I wasn't going to be his anything. And I wasn't going to be his, they have the term beard for people to like cover up the fact that they're gay. It's like, if a guy has a beard, I say it's like, I was his beard for being a sociopath. Like, I was like, he's like, if I have her, then I can get away with this. Later to find out he was doing heroin. He pawned a bunch of my grandmother's silverware that she like had given me. I don't know when he had started drinking. I don't know how much heroin he'd been. I realized I don't know if he physically ever had an affair. I know he was emotionally having an affair, because he screwed over other people right after me. He was telling me that he paid my mom money and rent because we lived on my family's property. Come to find out, I just assume, I'm not going to ask, I trust. He wasn't paying my mom rent. My mom just thought we were having trouble with finances, so she wasn't asking him for the money. So where did this money go? it was probably on alcohol and drugs. And then like I hear little stories here and there, and then it's like things start coming out because they don't have a reason for you anymore. And it's like, and he tried to kill me as soon as he didn't have a use for me anymore. He tried to kill me. And it's like, my whole thing is like, don't ignore those signs. If the first out is the first out, like, because it's just, I even still to this day want to call him. I've wanted to call him for the last 48 hours. I've wanted to talk to him. But yeah, PTSD sucks and mental illness sucks. And the thing is that I cry for a second and then I realize, no, I survived that. Like, I survived that. I basically just survived that. And like, nobody's alone in this. Like, nobody. Sure. And we all need to tell our story at some point, because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And then these things happen and people are like, oh, I should have saw all those signs. I should have saw all those signs.
I think that's a huge mistake a lot of people make. It's your intuition is never wrong. You know, when we know, like, if you come home, you're scared, you have you didn't want to go home, there's something wrong, right? That's like, and I think most of us blame ourselves. We say, well, must be me. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm moody, or I'm not accepting enough or tolerant enough. And no, you know, it's the signs are there, and I'm glad you finally listened to them. How long were you guys together?
3 years. The signs were there after, as soon as we lived in Southern California, and as soon as we moved up to Ventura, I mean, as soon as we moved up to Northern California from Southern California, I basically just, everything changed, I guess you could say, because it was like he had me away from everyone, so he took over, just everything changed. It does take two to tango. I don't want everyone to think that he was like this horrible, evil person. I mean, if he's a sociopath, I mean, nobody really knows who's a sociopath except someone's own heart and soul, you know? I rewatched the Netflix show You, and then I remind myself, oh yeah, he was definitely a sociopath. I see that he's in a new relationship. Oh, we'll get to that part. But anyways, I forgot where I was going. It's when you have PTSD and you start talking about this, I just started talking about this openly, on a bigger platform. Your brain goes so many different places because I'm gonna get crucified for this, but I don't really care. We live in a society that's very, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger. While I respect that, I don't 100% agree with that. I respect it for the fact that, like, as someone who was new to stuff, if I hear trigger warning on certain things, like when I was really first starting out with my PTSD, I'd be like, okay, I need to turn that off. But at the same time, it was like, you learn that you need to face that. You can't tiptoe through life with your trauma. You need to face it. The trigger warning does help to a certain extent, but at the same time, I think we put trigger warnings on way too much. Like, yes, some stuff does need trigger warnings, but I think we go a little bit too trigger happy with the trigger warnings, where we're tiptoeing through life. And I really feel like, as a survivor personally, and it's not for everyone, and I got to understand that, but this is just for me personally, that the best thing I felt is healing is to face your fears head on, to face everything head on. I was scared to ask for help, so I asked for help. I was scared to leave my life behind, so I left my life behind. That's what I did, and I was terrified. I left my life behind. I packed my car up with my clothes and my vinyl records, and I left because I could not be in the place that hurt me anymore.
Yes.
I couldn't be around the resentment. I couldn't be around the memories. And nothing against my family. My family helped me because my family had was around for our relationship, but I couldn't be around anything to remind me of that. I've cut certain people off, not because they played any part in our relationship, but because they were around for it. And I literally feel like I was a different fucking person then.
Yeah.
Like I even look at my life a year ago and look like a different person. This poor guy, I had this online relationship with the sweetest young kid. Like last year, he's not even a kid. He's more mature in a lot of ways than I am, even though he's younger than me. Because I'm a cougar in training. He might be, 10 years older than me. But he, like, I look back at that and like, he encouraged me to move to Washington, like, because he was like, take a leap. It wasn't like move here for him, but he was like, you should take a leap. And we had friends, and I had a friend that was up here in Washington too, and said, just take the leap. So he was part of the prodding, but I look back, and unfortunately I still haven't met him because I went a little crazy with the move. Like I might have relapsed on like taking pills and stuff like that because I was going a little crazy before I moved, because I was scared. I was facing something head on, and so I haven't met him. But I look back at like this time last year and I was like, oh my God, I don't even recognize the person that talked to this guy every day. Like, and I miss him. God, I hope one day I just run into him somewhere in Washington. I'm like, I'm that crazy bitch that you talked to that was that you had like a ridiculous high school online relationship with. Like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I was psycho. I was going through some PTSD shit, but thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be up here. Right. And you go crazy. Like you go crazy. Like, and that's a year, like that was like, I want to say it wasn't even a full year. It was like 6 months after my relationship, after last time I talked to my ex. And like, but I was still kind of talking to my ex. With trauma bonds are hard to break. And that was during a trauma bond. And like this poor guy, like, bless his heart, he was there for me when I needed him. But I probably showed him like every girl not to date in the future, because you do go crazy. You do. PTSD is a very real thing.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it in a different way. That's a different story, but so, me growing up in East Germany and facing what's going on now with like a lot of, mind control and manipulation, all that kind of stuff, like that seriously gives me like minor PTSD. I'm like, oh my God, it's like so everything escaped,
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand how that, but I feel like meditation and doing my yoga, all these kind of things really help me personally, and journaling, and also focusing on stuff that make me happy, like doing it helps when you have a purpose. And so I want to talk about that, because you didn't just move, but you also had a great job opportunity. So everything kind of fell into place. And isn't that amazing when you make up your mind, things just fall into place, right? Magic.
Well, and it's weird about the job opportunity thing, because when I came up here, I saved my money and I didn't have a job opportunity. I was like, I'm going to make, well, I kind of did. I was like, I'm going to make as much money as I can hustling, doing my psychic business, like my medium, because side note, I'm a medium card reader. Irony, the psychic didn't end up didn't know who the sociopath was, but that's a whole other story. That's because when you're gifted, it's so hard sometimes.
You're so deep in it
to see yourself, because you're always looking and helping other people. But you don't help yourself. And I've actually taken a break. I'm just now getting back into it again, but I took a break sometimes I have to take a break for a month or two just to recharge myself, because I'm seeing I'm so busy helping other people, seeing other people, that like I lose myself. But I knew that like I could make money doing that when I came up here, and I did, and I hustled for a while, but I also just kind of knew like what's stopping me. I was wearing myself out miserable in California. Yeah, I had a great job, but it was the funniest thing is cliche story. It was my dream job. It's my fucking dream job, being a counselor. And I fucking loved it, but I fucking hated it because it was so goddamn draining, especially for where I was in my life.
Yeah.
And I just quit, and I just jumped. I was like, I want to be a medium. That's what I'm good at. Like, I'm just going to jump and do it. And I did it. And I now have a office job that I do full time on the side of like, but the office job I have is doing marketing at a car dealership and working with a bunch of guys that like, and it's the best job ever. Like, I didn't think I would love this job, but I left it up to fate. I was like, you know, like, I'm just going to leave it up to fate. I just jumped, and I just like got rid of everything too, because I learned that when you're given materialistic objects your whole life to show you love, like, yes, my mom said I love you and she showed me other way, but she was a hardworking mom. She gave me a lot, but it was all like, there was just a lot of stuff.
Right.
And it was like, okay, fine, you know, the dream job of you're gonna, you know, get a man and all this stuff. And so it was like, I fought for that so hard because I thought that's what I wanted. And then I got it, and I ended up with like what I did. And now it's like, I don't want that. And it's like, sometimes you have to end up with what you think you want so you can realize what you really want and need. Like right now, I'm exploring polyamory just because I don't know if I like it or not. I'm like, it's like, so I might as well try it because you never know. But like, it's just, there's so much in this world and it's just like, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I have so many but
well, you're talking about letting go, you know, how you
just you have to let go. You just have to let go, and you sell all your materialistic objects, because the thing that is most important in life is each other. Like, yes, a roof over your head, yes, that's important. Like for me, the most important things I found are a roof over my head, my friends, my clothes, and my vinyl records, and my cell phone. And I'm good. And then I'll put my money elsewhere. But we don't need that much in our life to survive. We really don't. And it took me losing everything emotionally to find out that I didn't need those materialistic objects. And I know this sounds weird, but I kind of pity people that have these storybook romances that look so great from the outside, that look so movie-like, because I don't feel like they'll ever learn a lesson that I myself have been able to learn, or that anyone else who's gone through some tragic heartbreak has been able to learn, you know. And those lives aren't perfect either, so why should we? I mean, perfect example, God forbid I name who this is, but let's just say I know a pastor who's married, has 2 kids, all American family, looks fantastic, know him real well. He's a freaking narcissistic alcoholic that's been holding a lot of shit from a lot of people and protecting a lot of bad people for a very long time. And he's an alcoholic asshole. When you get to know him, he doesn't care about anyone but himself. Yeah. And he treats his whole family like shit. But on the outside, that's what we want. That's the dream that we're supposed to live, is that married and have a family and have kids. Striving for that gave me nothing.
Yeah. You know, and I think authenticity is so much more important, and just being real, because, and you were saying like these people that have these perfect relationships, I find that usually everybody has their own struggle, so
they really do.
They may have like everything as far as love and relationship goes, but they may go through some health issues, or they may have like their family, there's something not right, or they have other relationship issues. So I think we all came here for a reason and have our lessons to learn, our karmic.
We do.
So I think that everybody's on their own path, and not everyone has to go through the same thing. One thing I think is like just being a bit more listening more to people, like just because you haven't experienced that doesn't mean that it's not real or that, I think that's maybe something that people need to be a bit.
And I will admit that I'm a bit bitter over some things. So I do sound a little bit bitter when it comes to some things, and that's still stuff I'm healing through. But overall, we're just looking for the right path that we want to be on. Right. And we all have our own story, but it's also that I think the more wholesome way of getting to the point that I was trying to make was that just because society preaches to us that we should be married, have the all-American dream, all-American family, does not mean that is what works for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think that as a whole in America, we're really fucked up all over, but we're really good all over. We have our goods and pluses, everything does. Is that we need to be more accepting, and we need to learn from one another's like stories, because I think the world would change if we listened instead of talked,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And don't feel guilty for telling your story. I keep apologizing for talking because I've been so like told not to talk, like he's threatened to sue me. He's threatened to, and that's one of the reasons why I'm blabbering on too, is because it's anxiety. Like I'm telling my story on a public platform for the first time, and I'm not fully eloquent with my story.
But I think, you are you, and you should tell your story your way. Because,
scatterbrained and crazy.
You are you. And I think it will still help a lot of people. What I would love to know from you is like, so what advice would you have for someone who might be, because I think a lot of times people might be in a similar relationship, right? And
absolutely.
They are scared to leave. They are scared to maybe even admit it, right? That from the outside, speaking of like what you were saying, from the outside, they pretend everything is fine.
Yeah.
Because maybe of their upbringing, maybe they were told like, marriage and like divorce is bad, or like, you're a loser if it didn't work out. And all these weird guilt and shame and blame, what would you tell someone like if they are in a relationship like that,
So I reached a point too where I would ask for help from people that were really close to me, and he was so good that they would often tell me, "Oh, Brittany, you're just overreacting," or "Oh, you're being dramatic," or "Oh," and what helped me and helps me get out of that, and I tell this to everyone that asks me this question, is go on social media. On social media, on Facebook groups, create a private profile if you need to. There are so many Al-Anon groups, Alcoholics Anonymous groups, narcissist abuse survivors. There's so many outlets and channels, and it's almost like this underground railroad of domestic abuse network, and we help each other out. Like there was one post that was like, okay, put your safe word, and they log into a thing of safe word. So if you type in a sentence that says like, oh, my pineapple tastes funny, they know, okay, someone needs to call 911, look this girl up in the, it's very serious. That wasn't as serious as my story, but I'm also telling people that have a story that is that serious. go on Facebook, go on social media, use those tools. Suicide hotline is really great too. Phone calls, because they'll secretly connect you to other hotlines that can help you. If you can't get onto social media, you can, make phone calls and stuff like that. Because there are people out there. And that's the scary thing is about sociopaths, is or people that are that narcissistic or that, good at what they do. They even have the families convinced that they're good people.
Yeah.
And it's like even after he left, my family's still healing as a whole from him being in our life, because it was like a tornado and it just spun through, created havoc, and now it's going on to the next tornado.
Right.
And he's already in another relationship, and I've sat there and I've contemplated emailing her so many times, trying to warn her, but then I don't, because it's not my circus, not my monkey anymore. And also I think if someone would have emailed me, I wouldn't have believed them.
I know. Yeah.
But it's hard. But the best thing is that we can all heal. We can all move on. Listen to those voices. You're not alone. There's people that can and will help you. And like anyone can come to me for help. It's just, and don't be scared to leap. Don't be scared to leap, because the grass is greener on the other side. I hate that. The grass isn't greener on the other side. Well, you know what?
You're right.
You don't know until you leap.
Exactly.
You don't know until you leap.
Yeah.
And then if it's just as green, or if it's not as green, then just water both.
I think the thing with that is like when I decided to just like leave LA, I was like, LA doesn't go anywhere. So if you end up not being happy where you went, right? At least you took the leap. And if you decide, oh my God, my heart wants to be there, like then you can always go back. But if you don't leave, you will never know. And I think so many people are so scared of that. Because like you said, they hold on to all these things. And things to me, I see things like rocks in my backpack. The more you have, it gets heavy. And then it makes it harder to leave, because then you think about, oh my God, I have to pack it all. What do I want to let go of? What do I need
Oh my God, yes, I just had this conversation. Oh my God, my mom said something. She's like, are you going to get all this furniture for your new place? I said, no, because I just moved by myself. I don't want anything, because all I keep thinking about is the fact that I have to move by myself again. Like,
and it feels good. It feels good. It's scary, and it's maybe a little bit sad, because we get attached to certain things. I love my couch in my place. I was like, oh my God, I love this couch. But I was like, what? There's more couches like that out there. So it's not, it's not. Yeah. So it's that I think that's great advice, to taking the leap and to just letting things go. But whatever's meant to be will come back. Whatever's meant to be will be in your life.
Exactly. And that's the same thing with materialistic objects. If you're meant to have, those pair of shoes or that jacket, you're going to find it on a thrift store rack one day.
Yeah.
Which has actually happened to me numerous times. I kid you not. There are so many items that I almost bought off of Hot Topic, like back in a few years ago, like items I remember in the back of my head. Kid you not, last couple times I've gone to the thrift store, I've found those damn items. And I'm like, oh my God.
I love
so even the materialistic objects come back around if they're really meant to be in your life. Like I bought like a Goosebumps book I had when I was a kid that I got rid of the other day for like $1. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna read that book again. It'll come back around. It will
come back around. It will come back around. I know.
Yeah, that's another thing. Same with the love. The love is meant to be in your life. Don't like beat yourself up. Oh, maybe I made a mistake. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, if that love was meant to be in your life, you'll get that love again. It'll be from someone even better.
Yes. I don't even believe in mistakes anymore. I think that you would not walk away if it was meant to be, if it was right. It would feel right. You wouldn't walk away. And like we just discussed, if it's meant to be, it will happen again. Maybe you just needed it, to heal or to grow. But a lot of times I believe that we have many soulmates and that everybody is a teacher, you know, that comes into our lives, and every heartbreak either breaks you or makes you, like with you, right? It makes you stronger. And now you've transformed from this victimhood, codependent woman to just finding yourself and maybe finally loving yourself. Because I think for me, I've always looked for happiness from somebody else. You know,
same here. And I'm finally learning I can't. It's really is, and it's cliche, and like people are like, but I feel like this internal need that I need to get attention from people sometimes. And I'm like, then date, join FetLife, join Tinder, join, you know, these dating, that attention's out there. If you really want that attention, like you will find a way to get it. Like, honey, it's that those attentions and those people stroking your ego are not going anywhere. But that's gonna that attention will get a lot easier to get as soon as you start loving yourself, because it really is about confidence. It really fucking is about confidence and how you like carry yourself.
It is. So, confidence is so sexy.
It really is. Like I tell people, I get more people, like people are like, oh, you look so different, you know, now or whatever. But I'm like, honestly, I get more people like interested in me these days now that I'm like just looking like plain Jane, not wearing any makeup, than I ever did when I was wearing makeup and like all that kind of stuff, you know? Like I still play on the whole like, oh, big titty goth girlfriend stereotype, but really it's like, I'm just really a normal person.
Yeah. You know, I feel that that's the time for everything. I like to sometimes really get all made up, and sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm in my baggy sweatpants as right now.
Yep. I'm in my pajamas right now, and I'm like, I was gonna put makeup on, and then I was like, right.
No, I love that you are just being you.
Yeah.
Like, I've ever done that. Sometimes I'm like, I mean, today actually I was putting makeup on because I was shooting like a little bit for a music video, but sometimes I even don't like myself with all the makeup on. I'm like, I like myself actually better without it, you know?
Yeah, more genuine, because I was always playing into something, always, you know, right. You really, it's like another reason I think people should leave home is because like I never got the college, it's so cliche, but I never got the leave home and go to college cliche experience. And so I feel like I'm getting it now, especially since I'm like living in a college town right now, which is totally accidental, which is good for the cougar hunting. But like it's really, I feel like I'm like getting to know myself, because at the end of the day I was so codependent that I lived at home up until I was 32, just because I was a spoiled brat. Like it wasn't to this extreme, but if you watch the let's just say that the pilot episode of Schitt's Creek, that show Schitt's Creek, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
I could really identify with that. It's like I was a spoiled little, you know, upper middle class girl who just was like, got the rug kicked out from her and was like, nope, you gotta sink or swim. And then it was like the codependency, you know, my fiance came along with the ride because he has codependent issues too, obviously. Or also that's a part of the problem too, is he doesn't have codependency issues because he's sociopathic. I have to keep reminding myself of who he actually is and not who I thought he was. And so that's why I do that a lot, because I'm trying to remind myself so I can heal. But that's another thing about breaking codependency issues is narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, they cling on to codependent people so bad, like not easily. And us codependent people take it because we are so afraid to be alone. We're so afraid that no one's not, you know, going to be around, you know? And so that's the thing is, and that's why I'm really always making sure to put my codependency in check, and also check in with Al-Anon. Al-Anon's a great group for codependent people too. Is that Al-Anon It's for people who are affected by people of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just really big on codependency and breaking those codependent ties. But yeah, so I have to keep putting my codependency in check, with therapy and stuff like that, so that I don't attract another sociopath or narcissist, because it's almost like this. It's like I feel like, oh God, I can't keep my guard up, can't keep my guard up. It's like it's about building boundaries. It's okay to have those boundaries, and it's about building boundaries. And that's another reason you don't want to be the victim, because when you're the victim, it's really easy for bad people to just clamp onto you. But survivors,
yeah,
no, we ain't got time for that shit. We already been through that shit. We don't need to be through that shit again. So
it's so easy to be a victim, you know what I mean? Because then, and it's dangerous, because then you fall into this whole rabbit hole of like, you're not good enough. You know what I mean? It's really unhealthy. And I think in general, people in these days, I feel victimhood is even promoted. You know what I mean? People like, it's so, oh, poor you, poor that, instead of like, you chose to go there, you choose to meet this person, you should, not saying that's all your fault, but I mean, sometimes maybe you didn't see the signs, right? But but still own it.
Exactly.
Own the past.
Like I can take and I get what you're saying, because like it wasn't my fault that he did. I'm trying so hard not to say his name, because but it was so hard. Like it's so easy, I should say, for me to put all the blame on him. And yeah, he's a lot to blame for it. But at the same time, it was my doing to react the way I reacted in that situation. And what people need to understand is there's a big difference between putting the blame on someone and taking responsibility for your own actions. And I think that people get those two things intertwined a lot, like it's because if you came at me like saying you did this to me a year ago, I would have been like, but in my healing, I've learned, you know what? I shouldn't have reacted this way. And next time I see someone someone acting like that, I know to react this way now. So, right. And that's what I've been doing, basically. It's basically like we're raised playing chess one way, and then something happens and we have to teach ourselves how to play chess the proper way.
Yeah.
Because life is one big game of chess.
It really is. And I mean, what gets me a little bit, and I have to remind myself that, people are all different, and everybody has that baggage, everybody has that past, that programming, and because it's easy to say, oh my God, why are people so fucked up? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Why do people play games, right? Because why can't we all just be straightforward? Because, communication is everything, right? If we could all communicate and say, Brittany, you know what you just did, I really didn't like that. I didn't appreciate that. And then hopefully you could just say, you know what, I don't understand your point, but now I know. Now I know, right? That I triggered.
It'd be so easy.
It would be so easy. But
yeah.
we make everything so big. And then, of course, people that have certain issues, like your ex, it's something probably chemical, and that's, it's not an easy solution like that.
But that's the problem too, is like it's still that age-old thing. Is it how we were raised, or is it chemical? Is it genes, or is it like situational? And like for him, and it's very interesting because him and I have very similar, in certain areas, very similar things in our past, very similar childhood situations, but we turned out so differently. And like statistically, he has siblings, so he should have turned out better because he had the the thing, and I'm an only child. Right. But it didn't. And I think it really has to do a lot with like the environment too. Like I really think no, because we have the same environment. There's just really no saying. It's almost like he decided to go the dark way and I decided to go the light way. You know, it was like, but even that, it's not, there's just real no telling. It's really is.
Maybe like my suggestion of where I'm going is what's important is like, first of all, stay away from things that triggered more, like alcohol, you know, like drugs.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard too, because it's an addiction problem.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You have to surround yourself. I think that's the most important thing. You have to surround yourself with people who better you, with people who are honest with you, because tough love sometimes is needed, right? Like to
absolutely. Absolutely.
Call you out on your shit, you know, and it's hard too, because you don't want to, if you're really good friends with somebody and you know they have an issue with drugs, you know, how do you say it nicely, right? Like, hey,
like, hey, maybe you should slow down there, you know?
Yeah,
like,
you know, and they don't hear that because maybe they're not ready, or maybe they don't think they have a problem, because that's their normal. And then I think the best way to deal with that is, for me personally, I would just at some point walk away and say, you know, I'm here, but I will not always drag you out of your, you know, depending on how severe it is, you know.
Like with my ex, him, okay, this is a bad example. First of all, I'm gonna say it's a really bad example. So in Al-Anon, or you know, codependency or whatever, they teach that with alcoholics or addicts, you don't do ultimatums. You never do ultimatums. I, however, in my personal situation at the time, an ultimatum kind of worked, because it was kind of like, you know, I basically said, you know, either you get sober, or I'm kicking you to the curb. I would have never actually, well, no, but you know, or kicking you to the curb, I can't do this. And he got sober, he sobered up. And he stayed sober, because I told him, I said, if I find out that you know, if you start drinking again, that's it, I'm leaving you. But see, in that, it became this whole thing, because he was afraid to tell me, oh, I relapsed and all that stuff. Yes and no. But at the same time, he would have hit it for me no matter what, because that's just his MO. And he was playing a game. He was hiding a lot from me. So don't use ultimatums, but use boundaries. So don't like tell someone like, well, if you start drinking, I'm going to leave you. Be like, you know what? If you start drinking again, I'm going to remove myself from the situation. That's a better way. And that's what I should have said. I should have said, I'm not going to, you know, don't make it harsh. Be like, I'm going to remove myself from the situation. That way it gives you more of like a linear timeline. Like you can remove yourself from the situation as breaking up with them, or you can remove yourself from the situation as, you know, sending them off to rehab to get help while you stay at home. Like it makes it more open-ended. Like don't do the demands. And that's the biggest thing that I like to tell people is like, if you're in love with someone that has addiction issues, make sure that you don't give them ultimatums, because I messed up that one. I should have worded it differently. I should have shown more support. Because tough love is important, but tough love with tactic. Tactic. I'm not tactic. With tact is how it should be. Tough love with tact. It's all about delivery. It really is.
It's hard.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like, I keep messing up my words too, because I'm all like flustered, and I need to stop apologizing. Oh my God. My therapist is always like, you need to stop apologizing.
I know, stop apologizing. Just be, I want to know, so how are you doing now? What has changed in your daily routine? How are you keeping really healthy and you know, emotionally stable?
I don't drink anymore. That was a big trigger. I got a therapist. I did go on the waiting list. Everyone's like, oh, the waiting list is so long. It's like, you know what, just get on the waiting list, because you'll be that much closer to getting one. So I have a social worker, I have a psychiatrist, and I have therapists, because there are a lot of resources for people that are survivors of domestic abuse. And emotional, they don't have to physically hurt you to be emotional. I mean, emotional abuse is abuse. And then also I've been doing that. I smoke. I'm a very big advocate for medical marijuana, especially when it comes to PTSD. It helps with nightmares. It helps with anxiety for me. I'm very big about it, being smart about it, though. I always tell people, research a strand that works for you and talk to people at a dispensary, like a well-known dispensary, because you don't want, because especially when it comes to PTSD. But don't use it as a crutch. Like, you have to deal with your, it's like it's one thing to use weed 24/7, so another thing to use it to like sleep and stuff like that. But
I'm wondering, have you tried the tapping technique? Have you tried that?
No, have not.
Emotional, training, emotional, EFT, emotional.
Oh, the tap, you mean the eye stimulation?
It's called emotional freedom technique, and you basically tap your nervous. Yeah, I'll send you a link, and I'll put it on here too.
Yeah,
that helps with a lot of traumas, including that. So it another little thing that could probably help.
And I'm that, because I also am a big advocate, because the psychiatry, I'm also big on medication management. I think that for a time being, I don't plan on being on medication my whole life. I plan on going through cognitive behavioral therapy. But for the time being, I do understand and appreciate medication management, because it can help with a lot of things, and there is some PTSD that just is like, I'm a fine line. Find what works for you. Just because medication works for me does not mean that that's going to work for everybody.
I'm very anti-medication.
I know you are. I know you are.
I'm a holistic girl, but that's okay.
No, I'm holistic too, but I got to a point where I was like, I'm very holistic, but I also know that for me, it's what's best for me right now, is basically. And that's why I mean, like, everyone, because I've met people that are so much better not on medication, but I've met people that are better on medication. It's just, it really is up to every individual. But it's really, really, really important, though, is therapy. To talk to your friends, talk to a therapist. Therapy is really important, though, to me, though. I find it, because your friends are always going to be biased. Family's always going to be biased. A therapist will be real with you.
And journaling is great therapy.
Yeah, journaling is great too. I always say I'm gonna write a book, but I first need to organize my thoughts a little.
Write down all your thoughts and then get someone to write it for you, help you write it,
Yeah, that's what people have told me too.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, journaling is very important. Any art, find any creative outlet. Even if it's coloring is really good for mental health. Coloring, journaling. For me, my hobby, I mean, is like occultism, studying occult, like tarot and spirituality and stuff like that. Find your outlet. Everyone needs a hobby. For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Creativity is so important. Whatever form of art it is very important. So where can people find you? And they can probably hit you up for a tarot card reading.
So you can find me at _Queen_B show, the Queen Bee Show, on Instagram. That's the best way to find me. Or also just type in Brittany Adams on Facebook, and you can find me that way. It's a pretty generic. You'll find me. I'm pretty like, you'll find me. There'll be links. You can find links. Just search Brittany Adams Queen Bee. You can find me. I'll link underneath the comments or whatever.
I'm posting all the links. So
links, exactly. Find me in the comments, man.
Find me in the comments. And how's life in Washington? Like, how's it different? Tell us a little bit about like the
Oh my God, it's absolutely gorgeous up here. And you know what's funny is I've never been here. It's the first time I've ever been here. My friend kept telling me, "Oh, go to Washington, go to Washington." I had always like, I've traveled all over trying to find where I feel like it's home, you know?
Yeah.
And the cliche U2 song goes, "Still haven't found what I'm looking for."
I
But
know.
found it in Washington.
That
And
is
I had never been here before. See, I took a leap. I was like, all right. I mean, it's gotta be better than Chico, California.
I
my
know.
But like it's amazing. It's beautiful up here. I go to my right and I'm at the ocean. I go across the street and I'm at a waterfall.
Oh my God, that sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah, no, literally, I look one direction, I have the ocean. I will look the other direction, I have a forest.
Oh,
I was on my front porch yesterday with my roommate, and I looked. She goes, "Oh my God, look, a bald eagle!" And I'm like, "What?" And a bald eagle came flying and just like sat and perched like above us on a tree. And I was just like, she's like, "Oh yeah, you'll see them all the time up here." And I'm like,
oh
"That's awesome!" And they're huge. They're effing huge. Bald eagles are huge. And I'm surrounded by waterfalls. I'm surrounded by lakes. I'm surrounded by islands and oceans. For my birthday in May, I'm going out whale watching. Gonna go see orcas in the wild right off the coast. Yeah, probably cry.
God, I love that. That sounds fantastic.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And people say, "Oh, the weather," but it's so overcast. You know, with how I've always heard people say this, I was like, "Oh, it can't be that pretty." But seriously, all the overcasts and days of rain are so worth how freaking gorgeous it is up here.
So
And
green up there, right?
oh, it's so green. It's so green. And I'm over snow though. But you don't get too much snow, but you get just enough to be over it. But by the time you're done with it and over it, it starts melting. So it's not too bad.
Right.
Yeah,
Ah, that sounds beautiful. Yeah.
so gorgeous up here. It's absolutely gorgeous. You'll have to come visit. Have you been to Washington?
You know, I drove, so I went to Portland and then I went a little bit further up, but I haven't been to Washington, no. Because that's like, no.
You haven't been to Washington proper because Portland's right on the border of Washington. So
I know. Yeah.
you're probably in like not the quintessential port, you know, like fantasy part.
Is Mount Chaz in Washington? Like,
No, Mount Shasta's in California. So you're probably, yeah.
oh, because I was on the way back down. Because like on the way
Yeah.
there, I saw that. I was like, oh my God, this is like stunning.
I used to. You think Mount Shasta's stunning? You should see Mount Baker or Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I used to live by Mount Shasta. Like Mount Shasta was the first mountain I fell in love with, and then I saw the Pacific Northwest, and I was like, holy hell!
And I only saw it from the distance, but the whole drive there to Portland, I was like, oh my God, I want to stop everywhere and camp, like, because it was so green and I saw so many little lakes and stuff. So yeah, I want to make my way up there next time probably because it looks beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous, and I live in a town called Bellingham that is absolutely just gorgeous. And it's so funny because being from California, they all are complaining about the housing prices in this area, and I'm like, it's not California.
I know LA was like so crazy at the end. It's like, you know, I mean, I don't know if prices are going down now because of the pandemic and stuff, but it's become, the homelessness has gotten so bad where I live in North Hollywood and surrounding areas that I was like, no.
Oh man, living in Northern California in Chico, like people would always talk about how great, oh, Chico's this great college town, blah, blah. It is the most rundown,
really
tweaker, homeless area I've ever been. Yeah, I don't understand people's appeal to Chico at all.
Oh my God.
Like or San Francisco. San Francisco's even bad now. Like I used to like San Francisco. I do not have any desire to go there anymore.
Really?
It's so run down. Unless you have the money, like the actual funds to ignore, like yeah, it's just, it's bad. And I haven't been to LA in a while, but I've heard from a lot of people that LA is really bad now too.
It's nothing going on anyway right now, and
yeah, that's true.
It all looks kind of ghettoish because they set up all the outside stuff, but it's not pretty. It's like you build barriers and stuff, so it looks
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, like I'm telling myself, there's part of me that will always like LA because obviously I've spent a lot of time there.
Mhm.
But there's so many places to see, and until I get like you, where you say, "Oh, I'm home," New York
Yeah.
City was always like that for me, and now I'm not so sure about that either.
Mhm.
But so I figured I'm just gonna take it my leap now and just going here and going there.
Yeah, and your home just may be wherever you are. You may just be that gypsy soul.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think you are a gypsy soul. I really do.
I am. I just wrote a song called The Road Is My Home. Like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me would love to be somewhere and just somewhat settle, whatever that means.
Mhm.
But part of me is like, I'm not ready for that,
Mhm.
So, again, we have our own path,
Yeah, and you've nested before. I mean, we've all nested before.
Yeah.
If we're meant to nest again, we'll nest again.
Exactly.
We've experienced our nesting, and we learned that that's just not for us right now. So.
Yeah. Well, like you said, right? You said you feel like you're 25, and that's how I feel. I feel like I'm like this little kid who just wants to like run off and do stuff,
I know, I'm 35, and I'm like freaking going out with 22 and 23-year-olds.
Yes.
My friends tease me about it all the time, and it like, oh my god, like I was talking to this guy, or was hanging out with this guy, and he's like, they're like, how old is he, Brittany? And I'm like, he's 30. And they're like, oh my god, he has a 3 in his freaking age, and it's the first
number. It's just a number, but I'm with you, girl. Like,
I look at it this way. It's like when you're like, at that age, I think you should have I don't think it matters. Like, as long as they're mature and legal, and you ain't doing some kinky, freaky,
legal.
nasty shit, and whatever. I mean, like, if I don't want to. I'm not encouraging people. It's just whatever. It is what it is. Like, there's this one kid that's like hitting on me, and he's like 20 years old. I'm like, no, can't do it. Not for me. Not for me. I got not for me. Yeah.
I'll do 15, like up to 15 years younger. I can do. Like, I'm like, that's cool. Like,
yeah, I could probably do about 10 years. I think, no, probably about 12. I don't know. It just depends.
Well, 15, what's 3 more years,
Yeah, that's true. But it's just 20. It's like, there's just this hurdle I can't get over. This, like, if you can't legally buy me weed, it ain't gonna work.
No, you're right.
I can't send you to the store to get me anything. It's not worth it. This isn't gonna work.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Like, the US is like 21 and Germany is like 18.
Yep.
No, I'm with you. Plus, guys are like very immature. Like, so 18, when they're 20, that means they're like 15, like that.
Yeah, that's true. But even then, I don't know. I've dated some pretty immature. They're all immature. I'm getting young. But it's weird. It's like, and then another part too is like, once you have that heartbreak, you can explore what you like sexually, and you're like have that vigor of like a young teenager again. Like, oh, like I wanted to try this, but he didn't want to. Now I can try it with somebody else.
You're so funny. You gotta have fun. I think that's the most important thing. Like, when you're confident and it's fun, that's what it's meant to be. And then you'll find, in dating, like, I know a lot of friends who are like, I'm looking for a husband. I'm like, that's fine, but you gotta go out and play. You gotta explore, so that you don't want to get stuck again with or settle for someone because you think you have to get married, whatever.
Yep, exactly. And that's why I'm like, and it was funny because my ex kept throwing things out as excuses, and one of them was polyamory, and polyamory came to play a big, huge thing towards the end. But so I was like, oh no polyamory ever, no. And then I just kind of like got in Washington, it's really big, so it was like trying to date, everyone's like, I'm poly. So I started talking about it more, thinking about it more, and I met someone that I really like connected with, and I was like, you know what, let's try this thing out, let's see. And it's like, it kind of is nice because it kind of helps my trust issues in a weird way, because being poly, you're a lot more open with people. You're also a lot more trusting that they're going to come back around sometimes, because it's like, oh, if this person didn't want me in their life anymore, they wouldn't get distracted and just start talking to somebody else because they're already doing that. They'd actually be like, you know what, I don't think it's going to work out. There's a lot more communication in polyamory. So it's not for everyone, I think but then there's still a big part of me that's like, you know what, I think maybe I will want to, settle down with someone and get married. And it's like, you know what, why do I need to define anything? I'm just gonna have fun and live free and love who I love and sleep with who I want to sleep with, because I ain't nobody's business but my own. So
you gotta do you, you gotta do
Yep.
you. I think there's no one size fits all, and whoever wants to just like, find I would love to find the perfect one, and when the perfect one comes, I'll know. Until then, I'm not gonna stress over it, I'm not gonna.
Well, yeah, but I also think part of me also thinks that like this is something I've thought about lately too, is that like we say we want to find the perfect one, but that's to have someone be our perfection is like putting a lot on someone too at the same time.
Yeah, when I say perfect one, like when it feels right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
when it's not work, when it's not like, I wish you would say this, or I wish you would buy me flowers.
It just comes naturally.
When they just kind of, you're like, oh my God, I would, he did that, or whatever.
Yep.
He did that. So that kind of thing where you don't have to, but it's not so much work,
Yeah. And that's I can't wait for that. Maybe one day.
Have fun, girl. In the meantime, you got a job that you love. So I love that. And you're getting back into really being who you are and doing you. Just from like seeing you now from back in the day, you are a different person.
Oh, thank you. I take that as a compliment, because I look back at I had some fun times, but God, was I immature. Jesus Christ, was like.
No, but you've been always I've always loved you, but you've matured, but not like you didn't get old maturing. You matured, but you didn't lose your fun.
Exactly. I'll never lose my fun, because that's just, I'm eccentric. I'm a little crazy.
Exactly.
I'm eccentric. But no, and I had some great times. Some of the couple best nights of my life I have thanks to you. So friggin' Peter Steele, rest in peace, brother. Yep, those were some fun times.
Oh my God, that was so fun. You want to share a fun story? Like,
oh gosh, like, oh man, I still will never forget you guys opening for them at the House of Blues, and like everyone just being on stage throwing toilet paper.
That was my favorite.
Or just like, that was awesome. And then like also just turning the corner and just like walking into a room, and then like Peter Steele's just standing there for me. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, and he was the nicest guy. Oh my God, he was such a sweetheart. And then like just all the crazy times. Oh, I remember the time when you guys played with Dead Star Assembly at the Roxy or whatever, and like I was selling merch for Otto's daughter, and then like the Dead Star Assembly girl was selling merch, and I remember like some guy was being like a total jerk to us, and like we went and told you guys, and so all the guys in Otto's daughter and all the guys in Dead Star Assembly came like walking up like behind the merch girls. I just like up these stairs. It was funny, but like we just, oh God, it was just so many crazy fun times, and I don't remember a lot of them because God, no, I like it's so long ago that like Warp Tour. Oh, that's right, Warp Tour. And I fell asleep underneath the merch table because I needed a break.
It was so hot.
I remember someone going, "Where's Brittany?" and Jim like picking up the table, going, "She's underneath the table."
I remember that.
Shane. I just need Shane.
Oh my God, that was so fun. You know, it's actually funny. I'm gonna do podcast episodes with like, you remember Gadget, like my drama?
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna share a lot of Otto's daughter stories, because the funny thing is, like, I don't remember a lot of things, which is horrible considering that I didn't really drink when we were playing, you know?
Yeah,
So,
you were just always in the zone.
but I don't remember a lot of things. I'm like, oh my God. But I know, like, every time Jim and I get together and we start talking about stuff, we laugh our asses off because there's so many funny stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, rehashing some of those moments. And yeah.
Oh, I love Jim. Oh God.
Yeah. We had awesome time
Really?
at the Sunset Strip, you know? We had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. It was crazy. It was, you guys really introduced me to the world of LA. Like you guys were my first like LA experience, and then from there it just like, you guys were my rock star awakening to LA, and then from there it just was like whoosh, and went everywhere and all kinds of things, and had so many great times, and was able to do so many things because you guys introduced me to a lot. And to think it was all because we met on 666.
I did not even realize that, and that alone is amazing. That is the coolest thing. Yeah. See?
Yep. It's because of that thing. Yep. And because I'm crazy. Crazy.
I so love it. We're all crazy. That's why we all met.
Exactly. We're all crazy.
But we're the good crazy. We're the good kind of crazy.
We're the crazy. Yeah, we're the good kind of crazy. We're the eccentric crazy.
That's right.
We're the kind of crazy that doesn't have to be on hard antipsychotics. Just weed for some of us. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, it was so great catching up with you. And
absolutely. And just, if you know of anyone that has any questions, just send them my way, like with domestic assault or even mental illness. I have a lot of history with mental illness, and people just want to vent, like, yeah. And I'm gonna plan on telling my story more, and try to hone it in more, because I'm crazy. Like, I don't know, I'm making apologies for myself again, excuses. I need to stop that.
No, you know what? I understand, because there's always so much that you want to share and talk about. I get that. I'm the same way, where sometimes I'm like, okay, where was I? Like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you are being you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think people appreciate the story.
Yep. And I really hope that people can learn to not just to love themselves and know that they deserve the best, and that if you think that someone is treating you wrong, they're treating you wrong, because you shouldn't have to question how they're treating you if they were treating you right.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing everything.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a blast, as always.
We'll stay in touch.
For sure.
And I will link all your information below. And
sounds fantastic.
Talk very soon.
Oh, absolutely. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I know you have a lot of other things to choose from, and for you to take the time out of your busy schedule by having all these other options, staying here with us and listening to our conversation, I really highly appreciate that. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, please hit the like button, and please share it with your friends if you got something out of it. Also, don't be afraid to reach out to my guests, and I will talk to you next week. And as always, you're gonna hear a track of mine at the end of this. You can purchase my music at ottosdaughter.com or jacquelinebierk.com, and you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm all over the place, and I would love to connect with you. Thank you for listening, and you have an amazing, fantastic evening, day, morning, week, year, life. Love you guys. By the way, guys, if you love the top I'm wearing, this is from my Jack Van B clothing line, and this is the apocalyptic hoodie top, which is like an inked hoodie top. It's the more crazy, this is the crazy air version of the a bit more toned down version, which is also really awesome. It protects you from the sun while you're out and about, while you're not sweating your ass off because the arms are free, which is so awesome. And right now in the evening, it is really great to keep you like nice and cozy, because if it's a little bit chilly, this will definitely keep you cozy. Or if you're like in an air conditioned room, like a studio or something like that, this will really help. The material is so soft. Honestly, you just want to sleep with it. The material is really, really soft. It's just so cozy. But you can also wear it over a long sleeve shirt, which I've done, which looks also super cool, especially if it's like one color. So you can get that on my website, jackvanb.com. I also have some t-shirts and some jewelry. You support a small business, and these are all handmade by me. Each piece is absolutely unique, one of a kind. There's none to the alike at all. So that's another really cool thing, unique, just like you. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and I'll talk to you.
The world's so crazy right now. Everything's upside down. Everyone's scared to get close to one another. I walk around these empty streets. Feels like the apocalypse. I miss my friends, the bar around the corner. I wish I could be with you tonight. I could use a friend. Be with you tonight. If the world was to end, at least we'd have each other to hold on to. We'd have each other. Can I count on you? People dying all alone. No one's there to guide them home. Kids with pills and razor blades, about to throw their lives away. No one seems to give a damn. Everyone's out for themselves. It's hard to be alone in these dark moments. I wish I could be with you. I could use a friend. Be with you tonight. If the world was to end, at least we'd have each other to hold on to. We'd have each other. Can I count on you? Be with you tonight. Wish I could be with you tonight. We'd have each other to hold on to. We'd have each other. Can I count on you?